Shavua Tov Gotvach. Today, Gimel Tammuz, 25th anniversary of the Rebbe's yahrzeit. So, we'll share a story of the Rebbe. Rabbi Moshe Kotlarsky, who's the man in charge of locating shluchim and placing them and supporting them and helping them, once received a phone call from the Rebbe's chief secretary, Rabbi Chadikov, and he told him, he let it be known the Rebbe's on the line. And he says, can you go to Kursao today? And his immediate answer was absolutely yes. And that was fine. And he goes and he makes arrangements to fly to Kursao, having no idea why he's canceling all his other plans, except that it was obvious the Rebbe wanted this to happen. So taking someone along with him, they immediately, as soon as they could, they caught a flight to Kursao, landed in the airport. Since they didn't really know what their mission was, they asked a taxi to take them to the Jewish synagogue. They weren't aware that there were two synagogues. There's the famous old one, probably the oldest one in the hemisphere, but there was a smaller, less popular synagogue, and it happened to be that that's the one the taxi driver was aware of. He drops them off in front of the small synagogue. Rabbi Kotlarsky gets out with his friend, approaches the synagogue, and there's someone standing in the doorway, locking the door on his way out. Turns around and sees the rabbi from New York and says, Shalom Aleichem, who are you? What are you doing here? And he says, my name is Rabbi Kotlarsky, and the Lubavitcher Rebbe sent me here. Obviously, there's someone that I can help. I don't really know who that person is. The man became very emotional, and he asked the rabbi and his friend to join him inside the synagogue. Come inside, and he says to him, I have a big problem. I have a 12-year-old son, and since there's no Jewish school on the island, I've been sending him to a Catholic school with the understanding that he doesn't have to attend services or Bible classes, and he's just there for the general study education that he needs. And just a few days ago, I received a phone call from the school asking me, where's my son? And I said, what do you mean, where's my son? He's in school. Why don't you know where he is? And the principal tells me that it's been 1 or 2 weeks that my son has simply not shown up in school. So they assumed he wasn't feeling well, but now it's already 2 weeks. What's going on? I was shocked because for the last 2 weeks, my son left the house in the morning and he was back there in the evening. What's going on? I jumped into my car. I rushed home. It was 4 o'clock, and my son's walking in the door with his backpack, coming back from school, as if. I confronted my son and said, what's going on here? The school said, you're playing hooky. And he burst into tears. And he said that he's really being bullied and persecuted as the only Jew in the whole school, and he just can't handle it anymore. Knowing there wasn't another option, he decided to play hooky as long as he could. Now the game was up, and he refused to go back to the school, and I could understand why. I could sympathize and empathize. Well, what am I supposed to do with my 12-year-old son who has no school to go to? And I racked my brains for a couple of days. And today, in desperation, I decided to turn to God. I have the keys to the synagogue. I went to the synagogue, I opened the ark, and I said, please, God, help me find a solution for my son so he can receive the education he needs and he can grow up to be a good Jew. And I'm leaving the synagogue, and I ran into you, that you were sent here by the Rebbe to help someone. All three of them are quite overwhelmed by what's going on over here. So Rabbi Kotlarsky immediately offered to take the 12-year-old back with him to New York, register him in a local day school, and let him board in their house till, if possible, better arrangements can be made. And he promised to take full responsibility for this boy. The parents were overjoyed. The boy was overjoyed to go to a real Jewish school with total Jewish classmates in America. And in a very short time, they were returning to New York. I guess you could say mission accomplished. But that's not really the end of the story or the point of the story. Shortly after this, the father penned a letter to the Rebbe to express his gratitude for, the kid was arranged and everything he was very happy and it was working out beautifully, and that the Rebbe should be thinking without any communication about his son and his situation and sending someone so quickly to solve the situation. He was just overwhelmed by it and full of gratitude. And he wrote a letter to the Rebbe thanking him. And when it came to signing his name, he signed a small Jew from Kursal. He really felt humbled and he felt small and insignificant. And he wanted to express his appreciation. He sent a letter to the Rebbe. The Rebbe responded very quickly, and the gist of the Rebbe's response was, there's no such thing as a small Jew. Small little. And every Jew is very precious. He's got a godly soul. He's got a divine mission. And everyone's got to pull together to make sure that that mission can be fulfilled and realized. And I guess that's why the Rebbe sent Rabbi Kotlarsky, even before the guy went to pray, to make sure that his kid will get what he needs so he can be the full big Jew that he's meant to be. May we all be big people, big Jews, making Hashem happy with what we're doing. Have a great week.